There's a saying in politics, never let a crisis go to waste. So it's no surprise that when a pandemic struck, the politicians struck even harder.
I mean, and we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
An epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
We have a number of reports from countries who are doing very detailed contact tracing. They're following asymptomatic cases, they're following contacts, and they're not finding secondary transmission onward. It's very rare.
Lots of people thought that we were overextending it, that we were getting into conspiracy theory. What became clear is that there is a conspiracy, it's not a theory.
We don't have a pandemic of people falling over dead. What we have is a pandemic of false positives.
I was notified by the Board of Medical Practice in Minnesota that I was being investigated because of public statements I had made. They listed 2 allegations. They said I've been spreading misinformation in regards to the completion of death certificates.
When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
This pandemic nonsense, they based it on fear. They've had a successful campaign. They've had a successful run. The majority of the population were believing it, but now we're seeing a huge shift.
Diet and exercise are important, but we really need you to get the vaccine. So here's a beer. Here's a donut. Here's some junk food. It's like, oh, it's about your health, but in order for you to be healthy, we're going to bribe you with junk food to do something that's for your health.
And with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else. Because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body, okay? So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful.
This is an all risk and no benefit decision. To me, that violates every ethical code. It violates the Nuremberg Code that we agreed was an important principle to uphold in terms of human experimentation. This is wrong. And so to be handing out ice cream cones or donuts or, in downtown Vancouver, they were going amongst the homeless people and offering them $5 if they would take the injection. Like this is not an ethical medical practice. This is coercion, this is deception, this is distortion, this is malfeasance. This is wrong.
We don't have medical freedom here. We have a medical dictatorship knocking on our doorstep.
So all these masks are floating around out there. Which ones do health officials say you should use? None of them.
The average person thinks that they're thinking, and they're not. Their behavior, their ideas, and their beliefs are actually inserted into them by media, and I'm not too sure if people are aware that this is very well known in the industry, print media, usually in screen production, movie and TV shows, and radio, where mind control experts would make a living, so that some people call it advertising, but that wasn't advertising. And you can hack people's behavior.
Informed consent is a process between a doctor and a patient. The doctor will explain to the patient what they think is wrong with them, the treatment that they're suggesting, the benefits and the risks of the treatment, and any alternatives. And they give the patient room to ask any questions that they might have. So the patient can make a truly informed decision about the treatment that the doctor is offering.
It's about your mind and your body and your spirit. It's your whole body.
It's taking care of the person so that the person can take care of the disease.
Do not subscribe to this. Stop listening to this. Do not allow yourself to be taken over here when you know is the place where you are going to remain strong and steady and focused.
I want to give you my best tips and tools and strategies for you to understand your medical rights, your employee rights, your human rights, and your God-given rights.
Freedom of your mind, freedom of your emotional body. We could even go as far as to say freedom of your spirit. Freedom from this perpetuated and inaccurate paradigm of what health and disease is.
You always have the power to move from a place of surviving to a place of thriving.
And I do believe we're all here on purpose, and we're all here for a reason, and I do believe we all chose to be here during this time.
If you're a mom, you pay attention to what your child eats. You make sure that they're not getting chemicals in their food. You look at the kind of stroller that they have to make sure it's safe and protect them from chemical contamination. Well, you need to do that when you go to your doctor's office too. The responsibility does not end when you walk through your doctor's office door.
Keep being loud. Keep standing strong in the face of a world that seeks to eradicate the very fabric of the family unit. Refuse to settle while this frog boils away every last shred of freedom and normalcy that our children have left. They're our babies, and we are more than capable of standing strong for the beautiful world that we envision for them.
Guys like Fauci get up there and start talking, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. Those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people that pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem, actually, with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, if Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it, because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, President of the University of South Carolina asked Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. Fauci didn't want to do it.